In this video, I'm going to go through the keywords that we need for algebra. I'm going to go through these words in English and Oscuelga as well. So the first word, Slánibhreacha. This is a set of integers. So to recall, we denote it with the capital letter Z. If we write it in set notation, we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And it's continuing towards infinity in both directions. And to summarize, it's positive and negative whole numbers. So that means we don't include fractions or any decimals. So that's Slánibhreacha, integers. Next word is slán. This is an expression. So in algebra we deal with expressions all the time, so it's just important to know what the actual word means and how to identify different things. So if we look at some examples, 2x plus 3, x squared minus 4, any kind of expression, ax plus by plus c. So an expression is a collection of terms. Moving on to our next keyword, we have terma. So these are the terms in algebra. So if we take the expression 2x plus 3, 2x is one term, 3 is the other term. The next word, athróg. This is our variable. So if we take the expression 2x plus 3y, x and y are the variables. So the athróg, this is usually the letter in the expression or the equation. If we take another example, x squared plus 3x minus 5, x is the only variable there. We don't say x squared is a variable and x is another one. So we're just identifying the variable once. The next keyword, Thábhachtacha. This is our constant. Again, we'll take an example to help us to understand what it is. So if we take our 2x plus 3 again, x is our variable, 3 is our constant. So 3 is constant because if we take the term 2x, that will change depending on what x is. But 3 will always remain constant. It's not affected by the variable. And then in our next example, minus 5 is our constant. So 2x squared and 3x will change depending on what x is, but minus 5 will always stay the same. So it's the constant. Our next word, coefacht. This is our coefficient. If we take our example again, 2 is the coefficient of x. So the coefficient is always related to the variable. So 2 is the coefficient of x. 2 is the coefficient of x squared in our second example. 3 is the coefficient of x. And as we said, our minus 5, it doesn't have a coefficient because it's a constant. So the coefficient only relates to a term that has a variable. And it's the number that comes before it. The next one is look at all. So it's to find a value. So if we take the very basic equation, x minus 5 is equal to 7. If we want to find the value of x, we need to solve the equation. So we'll go through this in more detail. But we have x is equal to 7 plus 5, so x is equal to 12. So just some basic examples to kind of illustrate the point here. Another example, we have two variables, a and b. We're told that a is equal to 5 and we need to find b. So we need to find the value of b. So we substitute in our 5. 5 plus b is equal to 10. b is equal to 10 minus 5. So b is equal to 5. Cuthramód Líneach. This is our linear equation. As we become more familiar with different types of equations, we'll be able to tell what type of equations they are just by looking at them. So for example, we have 2x plus 3y minus 5 equals 0. This is a linear equation. We recognize it because it has an x term, a y term, and a constant. So in general terms, ax plus by plus c equals 0. Now, if we were to draw it, we have a line, the linear equation. And just to note, it may not always have the three different types of terms. So 2x minus 5 equals 0 is a linear equation. X plus 2 equals 0, again, a linear equation. What we want to note here is that the highest power of the variables is 1. So we don't have any squared terms here. Ailgéabar Líneach. This is our linear inequality. So whenever we're talking about inequalities, we're talking about the less than or equal to, greater than or equal to signs. So to give an example, we could have 2x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 8. So if we need to solve this linear inequality, we solve it the same way as an equation. So we have 2x greater than or equal to 8 minus 4, 2x greater than or equal to 4, x greater than or equal to 4 over 2, x greater than or equal to 2. So we treat the inequality sign the same way that we treat the equal sign in an equation. And again, there'll be a video going through this specifically. Now, what we usually need to do when we do solve a linear inequality is to plot the solution on a number line. So just to go through this quickly, if x is a natural number and x is greater than or equal to 2, then we're putting dots on 2, 3, 4, and 5, all the way up to the arrow to show that it continues to infinity. Our next one, Cuthramód Cóthúnacha. These are simultaneous equations. So we have a few different types of simultaneous equations to be able to solve, but the most common one, the one from junior cert, and that we have to do again for leaving cert maths, is when we have two linear equations. So Cuthramód Líneach. I'm going to label these A and B. So if we were to draw these two linear equations, draw these two lines, A and B, what we want to do is find the point of intersection. So the point is always identified by an X and a Y coordinate. So we're going to solve these equations simultaneously to find those 2 points, the X and the Y. Okay, so again, we'll go through this in more detail. But what I'm doing first is I'm multiplying the second line by -2 because I want to be able to cancel the X's so that I can find Y first. So we'll get minus 4x plus 10y equals minus 16. 4x minus 4x gives me 0. We get plus 7y. 23 minus 16 is going to give me 7. So y is equal to 7 divided by 7, which gives me 1. Now that I know what my y is, I take one of the equations. It doesn't matter which one. I'll take the first one. So 4x minus 3y equals 23. And I'm going to substitute in the value that I found for y. So 4x minus 3 by 1 equals 23. 4x minus 3 equals 23. 4x equals 23 plus 3. 4x is equal to 26. X is equal to 26 divided by 4. And when I simplify that, I get 13 over 2. So don't worry that it's not a whole number. It won't always be. So now, for the coordinates, I have 13 over 2 and 1. So I found the point of intersection, solving the equations simultaneously. Of a formula. The subject of the formula. So let's take an example. If we have x is equal to 3y plus z, x is the subject of the formula because it's x equals everything else. So we might be asked to change the subject of the formula. So, for example, let's change it to y. So the first thing that we're going to do is single out y by itself on one side. Now, it doesn't matter which side you leave it on. I'm going to move the y term onto the left and the x term onto the right. So my signs are changing when I do that. Now I'm going to make the y positive. So 3y is equal to x minus z. And now I divide on the right by 3. So I get y is equal to z minus x minus z over 3. So now y is the subject of the formula. So I move y, I simplify, I want y to be positive, and then I divide by 3 to get y by itself. Again, we'll look at this in more detail in another video. So I hope you found the video helpful. It's really important to understand all key terms related to any topic so that you have the vocabulary in order to explain what you need to explain in exam questions.